Hello and welcome to another Thoughtful Thursday. Thank you for taking the time to join me here. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about receiving compliments. And another way to even frame that is receiving positivity or positive energy from another person. This is something that's pretty commonplace in our culture and American culture, and I've seen it in other kind of Western worlds, Western nations, this element of sloughing off or dismissing people's compliments to you. And I'll tell you a little bit about where I noticed this at a very important place in my life. As a musician and having worked with musicians for a long time doing sound, touring the country, those sort of things, I noticed that when I'd play with musicians or when I'd work with musicians, there were oftentimes people who would have this wonderful show or play a few songs or whatever it may be, and somebody would come up to them afterwards and say, I really love the sound of your voice, or that song was just amazing. And I'd see these incredible artists say, my voice feels a little off tonight, or I guess that song's okay, I'm still working on it. And really almost be dismissive of the person who's giving the compliment. I saw this over and over and over again, and then I started to see it everywhere in life. It's a very commonplace thing that many of us do unconsciously. This element of being humble or not being overly prideful is something that's a great thing to be conscious of, but this feels like it's the monstrous side of that, is that people often just don't know how to take a compliment. And I'm going to offer a few alternatives because ultimately, to get into the nitty-gritty of that, the example of the audience member coming up and talking to the musician, put yourself in their shoes. If I came up to my favorite artist and I said, I really am moved by your music, it really has changed my life, and I just love the way you performed that song tonight. And that artist, he or she says, I've written better. Or, my voice wasn't on that night. They've completely diminished my experience. My joy, the joy that I had that I was sharing with them is now not only bouncing off of them, but it's diminished within me. And that's a huge disservice that we can do to one another. So recognizing if you're the type of person who does this, who deflects positivity by saying a diminishing thing about what you're receiving the compliment around, notice what you're doing to the other person. Recognize it's really not about you. It's about the other person expressing their joy and gratitude for what you brought to the world. And that self-deprecation is really some elements of your own egoic structures that may be worth looking at to see if they're serving you any longer. The experience of being so self-focused to not realize that the other person's compliment is more about them than it is about you is actually more prideful. So by not graciously and humbly accepting a compliment from somebody, you're actually doing the opposite of what it sounds like you're doing. That diminishment is actually a much more prideful experience to be as a human. So to put this into practice, it's really worth trying. So the next time somebody does give you a compliment, hello, hi. The next time somebody does give you a compliment, see what it's like to honestly feel that. And the technique to utilize that is to create some space. So when somebody says something, even taking a brief pause. So it might be, hey, I think that what you said in today's meeting was awesome. To give that just a brief moment and then say, simply thank you. Even if the story in your mind is, I messed it up, I left out these things, I stuttered, whatever it is, just say thank you. And then move on. Those elements of how you can improve are something for you to take to your own practice, your own dojo, if you will. If you want to be a better public speaker, then take that back with you and work on that. But you don't need to offer that to the person giving you a compliment. You are blocking the energy that you could receive in positive experience for them, and you're diminishing them. And it really doesn't serve anybody in the long run. You may disagree, and if so, please leave your comments below, or if you have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. And I hope that you found today's Thoughtful Thursday insightful. Have a great one.